Holy shit, Trump is truly working to dismantle the Federal Reserve. Now, the important thing to understand is financial education. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913. That's not federal, nor is it reserve. And these decisions that are happening behind the scenes will affect you dramatically as an American. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was created, which again is not part of the government. We for a long time thought it was part of the government. It's not federal, nor is it reserve. They control job markets and money supply, and they do it through interest rates. Now think about that. Study who created the Federal Reserve. It's a group of bankers that control our money supply and interest rates. Well, who makes money off of interest rates? The banks. In 1913, they also stopped tariffing other countries. We had very low federal income tax. So they created the Federal Reserve in 1913. That's not federal nor is it reserved, by a group of bankers that control our money supply and job markets. And they started taxing us, the people, instead of other countries. So now that takes me back to modern day times right now and the moves that Trump is making. Now, this is just my opinion. You got to do your own research. I'm going to share you my opinion, my research. What I encourage you to do is take sovereignty and look for yourself. And I'm going to share with you what I did to protect my family and how we're building wealth, understanding the systematic shift that's happening in the financial system. So now, as we sit, 7 years ago, Trump told you you're going to be on an even playing field monetarily before you know it. I've showed you the video over and over again. And now he's giving us the hints and clues in plain sight of what they're doing. So Trump is working to put pressure on Jerome Powell, and I almost promise you that he's going to bring the Federal Reserve underneath the government. So now he's putting pressure on Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. Now remember, when they lower interest rates in a debt-based society, your dollar becomes weaker. And if you don't understand what's happened since 1913 when they were created to 2025, your dollar's collapsed 96 to 97% and has about 3% purchasing power. So now you're sitting in a dollar that's 3% purchasing power, and you've been taught by your grandparents and your parents to save your pennies, put it in the bank. Well, think about that. When you're saving your cash, which is trash, in the bank, what are they doing? They're making interest. Federal Reserve was created in 1913. That's not federal nor reserve. They control the money supply and job markets through interest rates. And why would they do that? Because that's how they make money. So they make you go to work. They make you trade time for money. They pay you in someone else's debt. You put your debt in the bank and they lend it out and make money where you work your ass off and stay poor. So if you don't keep borrowing, if you don't keep buying cars and houses, the American dream, and you don't keep burying yourself in debt, the system breaks. So Trump sees that that is happening and they're delicately balancing this. So hopefully the American people don't get wrecked. But if you don't understand how inflation works, and when they lower interest rates, your dollar becomes worth less and the elites go into assets to beat inflation. And when they raise interest rates, the elites sell off their assets and go back into the dollars just to teeter-totter. Markets don't go straight up all the time. Nothing does. And if you study Ray Dalio's Changing World Order, it's a huge cycle that happens over and over and over again. And you're not going to beat the cycle, but you can ride the wave. So Trump now not only is putting pressure on Jerome Powell, is Scott Bessent's going hardcore on the Federal Reserve, is I believe they're going to pull the Federal Reserve underneath the government. They're going to lower interest rates like crazy because Trump wants an even playing field. He told you 7 years ago. Russia even confirmed exactly what I was saying. They're like, holy shit. They're going to use stable coins to make America even more dominant. Trump has the #1 fastest growing stable coin. I'm going to give you the game next. Is Russia even said exactly what I'm saying. They're going to use Bitcoin to shrink the balance sheet and the debt. They're going to use stable coins to make America the most dominant currency in the world. But here's the thing. If you still don't know how to invest in assets and they lower interest rates, you're going to go monetize more debt and become poor. Because when you lower interest rates in a debt-based society, there's going to be inflation on the back end. So by the back end of 2029, we're going to go into hyperinflation. And you think houses are unaffordable now? Wait till 29 to 2030. It's going to be a rental-based society. You're going to own nothing and be happy. That's what the World Economic Forum said. But you own nothing right now and you're not happy. Nobody owns their home anymore. Nobody owns their car. Everybody's buried in debt. We don't even own our stuff and we're not happy now. So this is your job, is to understand how to become an investor. So what I did is I studied inflation. I studied billionaires. I don't study get-rich-quick people, meme coin bullshit. I studied the real money. And they're investing in deflationary assets that have fixed supply. Hence, the Trump family now is the 8th largest holder in their Bitcoin treasury. America's the #1 country holding Bitcoin. BlackRock's #2 outside of Satoshi. We got Strategy B, #1 treasury. BlackRock is the #3 holder in Strategy B. We got Grayscale. China's #2 in Bitcoin. So that's a fixed supply asset. It's deflationary. Write down inflation. Go study inflation. It's deflationary. So I store my wealth in Bitcoin and XRP. They're both deflationary. They have fixed supplies. XRP becomes more valuable based on its utility, and it burns. It constantly burns. You can't just print it. You can't print any more of it. It's opposite of the current monetary system. So you're going through a systematic change where you need to study at a deep level how to stop trading time for money and use your money to invest to free up time. Because all there is, your debt is someone else's asset and their assets are someone else's debt. There's no real money in the system. The energy just transfers back and forth. You either borrow against your future self to make yourself poor. This is the issue that Ray Dalio teaches us. The problem is everybody's borrowing against their future self. They're extending their buying power without extending their income. And then eventually you hit times like this where the interest rates are so high, you don't have the income to pay the debt because you borrowed against your future self 5 years ago. But what the elite's doing, the billionaires are doing, and what we're doing is we're positioning ourselves in things that beat inflation every year. So as everybody lost their purchasing power of 19% with Bidenomics last administration, we grew our XRP by 800%, our Bitcoin by 200% at a personal level, and we created a treasury for our company. And so we took 20% of our profit margin. So we run 20% profit margin. We took 20%, we created a treasury. So as other businesses got crushed, losing their income through inflation, we actually increase the enterprise value of our company. So all I did was I did the math to 2029, reverse engineer it where I want my companies to be in the enterprise value, and I figured out how much I need to invest in weekly, monthly, and I did it. I did it from 2020 to 2025. I focus on cash flow. I move my cash flow into deflationary assets, into assets that beat inflation. When these inflationary assets, when they profit, because markets don't just go straight up, they always go up and go down. When you're coming in to get rich quick, I'm selling. I go into cash value life insurance, which has been here since the Roman days. Annuity, the first annuity was in Roman days. Life insurance, the way the wealthy use it, has been around since the Roman days. So I go into cash value life insurance, which creates 4, leverage. I leverage my Bitcoin at a very low level in the digital asset space. My mark is 25%, will never go higher. And I buy cash flow. I take the cash flow and what do? We buy more deflationary assets. I leverage against my insurance to buy what? When you're running from the markets, I'm buying. And beating the hurdle rate, I'll borrow at 5% and I invest in an asset that'll grow 50%. And then when it profits, I pay off the leverage. And what do? Again, we repeat the process. That's richest man in Babylon. So pay attention to every move Trump makes. They now own World Liberty Financial. Their World Liberty Financial stablecoin is the #1 growing stablecoin in the world. That's what Russia was talking about. Trump created a DeFi platform. It's opposite of the central bank. He's dismantling the Federal Reserve and the central bank. And Russia took notice and explained it very, very well. So instead of scrolling aimlessly, study incessantly and get your shit together. Warriors, rise. Love you guys. Pay attention.